Yes, guys, this is how you build a league-winning fantasy football team in 2025 around the best wide receiver you can possibly draft, Jamar Chase. Why Jamar Chase? Why is Jamar the best wide receiver? Why is he up there for the best player in fantasy football? And that's because, honestly, especially in PPR leagues, he has the highest ceiling of any player on the board. Last season, he ranked among wide receivers first in receiving yards, first in touchdowns, first in catches, first in targets. And you can build teams around this guy that if everything goes right, which doesn't happen a lot, but if everything goes right, you might go 17-0. And if everything goes wrong, you're probably still going to make the playoffs. He is that good. So at the end of the video, after we walk through the round by round, right, we're going to draft a couple teams here via mock draft, and I'm going to show you just how good these things are looking. So for context, guys, last year, okay, weeks 3 through 18, final 15, 16 games of the season, he had less than 17.5 fantasy points only twice. So he's in your lineup 17.5 plus, like that. In week 10 against the Ravens, some of you are old enough to remember this game, 55.6 PPR fantasy points. I'm just going to say that again. So 55.6 PPR fantasy points. That's more than half of someone's lineup, most likely that week. Okay. He is the wide receiver 1 in fantasy this year. And for many, he is the 101. Now, we're getting into round 1 here. And I have him as the automatic 101 in full PPR and in 3 wide receiver formats. Okay. If it's both of those, even better. For half PPR, I do lean Bijan. For Superflex, even if it's PPR, I do tend to lean Bijan over Jamar. I have Allen as the 101 in Superflex, but yes, that's where I'm at. It's either Bijan or Jamar in your standard league, okay? With that being said, we'll be considering these picks from the 101 or the 102 today. It's a privilege, in my opinion, to draft Chase in 2025. It really is. And even though there's been a different wide receiver 1 each of the last 8 seasons, every time you pick that guy who was wide receiver 1 last year, they still do pretty good the next year. And there's no rule against them repeating. I think Chase can absolutely repeat as the best player in fantasy, especially in PPR. So our pick from the 101, the 102 is Jamar Chase. Now, in rounds 2 and 3, at the turn, what you want is pretty obvious. It's 2 running backs in a row here in your top 26, 27, 28 picks. So you're going to start Jamar, then you're going to go RB and RB. Why? Well, because when the names are Bucky Irving, Josh Jacobs, Chase Brown, Kyron Williams, Jonathan Taylor, Omarion Hampton, now in the top of the 3rd round. When you can get 2 of these guys, they are 2 top 12 running backs. You have 1/6 of the RB1s in the league. And you also just have Jamar on top. Any one of these guys you can line up across from Gibbs, Bijan, Saquon, Henry, and there's a somewhere chance around 50-50 that your guy outscores the other guy. It might be 45-65, not in favor of you, or 40-60, but you have 2 RB1s and Jamar. Yes, please. Now, into round 4, we're kind of running a bit of a hero wide receiver build. We're almost forgetting we have Jamar as we build the rest of this team, right? So do everything in the power here when you're building a team like that, a hero wide receiver, a hero running back, to draft the stack, especially if it's wide receiver. So Burrow in the top 48 picks, pick 40 to 48, when you have Jamar Chase, yes, I allow it. He is the absolute priority in round 4. If you miss Joe Burrow, I do like George Kittle. Now, he's creeping up into that 3rd round. I'm not paying that price. But with hero running back, hero wide receiver, a strategy like that, where you draft your hero, fill out your roster, you need an elite tight end. You need an elite QB. So again, if Burrow's on the board, he is the priority here. If not, I do like Kittle. If both of them are gone, fill it in with running back. Again, Kamara, Walker, Cook, these type of players. Running back is very scarce this year. Only about 15 guys who I think really have top 8, top 6 ceiling. And honestly, there's only about 8 or 9 running backs who I think can finish RB1 overall, if we're not including dark horses and things like that. So again, Burrow, Kittle, and then a running back in order here for the 4th. We will assume we secured the stack and got Joe Burrow. So through 4 rounds, Chase, running back, Burrow. Now in round 5, it really is always going to be a wide receiver here because the value at wide receiver in the 5th round, George Pickens, Jamison Williams, Teteroa McMillan, Cortland Sutton, Jalen Waddle, DK Metcalf. Top 20 wide receivers. Just top 20 stud wide receiver twos. Just sitting here in flex range in round 5. It's a crime. Now, some of these guys will go in round 4. Some of them will make it back to you in round 6. So be it. Pick one of these guys here. Ridiculous value. Top 10 positional ceiling for every one of these players. In round 6, at this point, we have 2 receivers and 2 running backs. So it really is kind of a best player available at this point. For running back, I like Caleb Johnson. I like David Montgomery. I like Isaiah Pacheco, honestly. I do. Especially if your earlier running backs are a little more risky, like a Walker and a Hampton. You get a guy like Pacheco in there who, he's not a sexy pick, but he's going to get 15-plus opportunities in a good offense with a good defense who's going to run, okay? For wide receiver, Rome Odunze, Jacoby Myers, Stephon Diggs, very similar. These are safe picks. Just get a guy out there who's going to give you points, give you volume. Safe picks here. Best player available in round 6, okay? And honestly, if you didn't get the tight end, you didn't get Kittle in round 4, Hawkinson or Laporte are options here, okay? Moving into round 7, I always say round 7 really is really a check-in point. Through 7 rounds, okay? You want 1 tight end and you want 1 quarterback. You want those on your team, okay? Now, depending on who you drafted earlier, you probably still need one of those. So the QB targets are Kyler Murray, Justin Fields, and Bo Nix. And the tight end targets are Evan Engram, Travis Kelce, David Njoku. Now, getting this round 6 and 7 turn kind of right here is kind of challenging. Knowing how to time your tight end, time your QB pick, how to fill in those other spots, who to fill them in with. Maybe you get Burrow, maybe you get Kittle, right? It's challenging. It takes practice. So we're going to try a couple different things here. But again, through 7 rounds, you want 1 tight end, you want 1 QB, all right? And then in the 8th round, for reference, we drafted Evan Engram with that pick there in the 7th, okay? And then rounds 8 plus, really towards the end of the draft, you're just balancing the roster. Tajay Spears, Cam Scatterbu, Brian Robinson, Jordan Mason, Travis Etienne, okay? Wide receiver targets, Pearsall, Mooney, Coleman, Golden, Egbuka, Downs. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to go and try this in a couple different mock drafts. I'm going to take you through my thoughts. I'm actually going to go ahead into league settings and try to lower the amount of rounds we are going to be drafting. Let's get rid of some bench spots here. We'll do 3 bench spots. I believe it's going to put us at 10 rounds. I believe. Let's take a look. It does, just so we can get through kind of the meat of the draft, if you will. So we have the 101. I'm going to go ahead and start it off with Jamar. We'll start the draft here at the 101 with Jamar. And we're instantly targeting 2 running backs at the 2-3 turn. So let's talk about some guys that might be available. Now, if a guy like Achane, McCaffrey, okay, if a guy like that, Henry, is available at 2-3, just know that, just know that however many playoff spots are available in your league, there's now 1 less for the rest of your league because you're in there. They're most likely not going to be there. But Bucky Irving, Josh Jacobs, maybe, okay? In our case, we're up now at the 212. I'm looking at Jonathan Taylor, Kyron Williams, Chase Brown. Now, Breece Hall, James Cook, no thanks. Hampton, yes. Walker, a little early for me, especially with the injury. So let's go ahead, let's draft Jonathan Taylor. And normally it would be Chase Brown over Kyron. I'm actually going to go ahead and take Hampton here. So we have Jamar Chase, Jonathan Taylor, Omarion Hampton through 3 rounds. You see my point exactly, is that we have 2 RB1s. I have both of these guys top 12, albeit the lower end of the top 12 running backs, the RB1s. But yes, both of them are RB1s for me. If I'm lining up Jonathan Taylor versus Bijan, sure, I give the edge to Bijan on any given week, right, in a vacuum. But maybe, just maybe, 40% of the time, 45% of the time, JT will come out on top. And I guarantee whoever their wide receiver is not touching Jamar Chase, all right? So in the 4th round, let's consult the guide here. By the way, guys, the guide is on Twitter at JoeAricoFF, at NoExpertFF, on X on Twitter. So now we're going to go Burrow, Kittle, or RB. Let's see who is available. Burrow's available. It's a no-brainer. And you're most likely going to get him there in the 4th. People kind of sleep on him. I don't know why. And your league should be smart and not let the Jamar owner get him. But if you can, go ahead and do it. In round 5, we're always picking wide receiver here. A sidekick for our hero in Jamar. Rashee Rice, DJ Moore, Zay Flowers. We will go with DJ Moore. A guy who I'm pretty high on. Majority of creators, majority of people on Twitter, X, YouTube comments don't really love him. I do, especially in that wide receiver 2 spot. So he's on our team in the 5th. Moving ahead to the 6th, it's going to be best player available, RB or wide receiver. Let us take a look. Coming back to us in the 6-12, we'll talk through some options. Jordan Addison, Calvin Ridley, Chris Godwin, Rome Odunze. There are some options there that I like, but at the RB position, Swift, Caleb Johnson, Brian Robinson. We're going to go ahead and take Caleb Johnson, the rookie. And then in the 7th round, what did we say about the 7th round? We said at this point in the draft, you want a tight end and you want a QB. We already have our QB in Burrow. Let's take a look at the tight ends. Travis Kelce's on the board. Not anymore. He's on our team here in the 7-01. So through 7 rounds, Joe Burrow, Jonathan Taylor, Omarion Hampton, Jamar Chase, DJ Moore, Travis Kelce, Caleb Johnson. Now in the 8th round, okay, we have 3 running backs and 2 wide receivers. What does that mean? We're most likely going wide receiver here, probably doubling up on them, because even if we even it out at 3 and 3, the wide receiver unit, even with Jamar's, is maybe a little weaker. Pearsall's on the board, not anymore. Josh Downs is on the board, not anymore. Get on the team. Pearsall and Downs at the 8-12 and 9-01. Team is filling out here. And we're just going to take best player available in the 10th round to close out this draft. And the final roster is very serious. This is a very serious final roster. Very good team. Coming back to us here at 10-12. Keon Coleman goes off the board. Jordan Mason goes off the board. 2 guys I really liked. At the running back position, J.K. Dobbins, Tank Bigsby, Jaden Blue. Let's take Bigsby. And the final roster for this build, guys, Joe Burrow, stacked with Jamar Chase. We have Jonathan Taylor and Omarion Hampton, DJ Moore, Caleb Johnson, Travis Kelce, Pearsall, Downs, and Bigsby. I'd most likely go ahead and just keep drafting those RBs to close out that draft. Now, guys, what I'll do now is set up the next mock draft. And we're going to do this one from the 102, change it up just a little bit, and see what happens. Okay, the next mock draft is ready. Let's begin. Hopefully Jamar doesn't go first. Honestly, I'm just going to go ahead and set the player here as Jamar. Perfect. Start the draft. Okay, a little bit of cheating there at the 102, setting Jamar, but found a lot of the times he does go at 101. Sometimes in these home leagues, guys, you'll get someone to take Barkley first, Gibbs first, Bijan first, maybe even Jefferson, Lamb. Okay, if you live in Dallas, you never know. So it's realistic to say that Chase goes at the 102 sometimes. We will take him there in this draft. And we'll begin in the 2nd round and the 3rd round with 2 more running backs. Jonathan Taylor, Chase Brown. It's the same old suspects. It's an interesting point. I'm going to take Chase Brown, most likely. I just want to see how the team looks when we do that. I'll start with JT in the 2nd, and if Chase makes it, I'll do it. I am typically against doing running back and wide receiver from the same team. It actually happened to be in my most important draft of the year a couple days ago, where I took Gibbs at the 104, and Amon-Ra made it all the way back to the 209 or 210, whatever pick that is. So I had to take him. He shouldn't be there. So now I have Gibbs and Amon-Ra. In this draft, we are going to start with Jamar Chase, Jonathan Taylor, and Chase Brown. So we have Chase and Chase. Is Burrow available in the 4th? So Burrow, in this one, went 1 pick before us, which is great. Is George Kittle available in the 4th? No, he's not. So we have no Kittle, all right, and we have no Joe Burrow. So at this point, the guide says take RB. We're looking at Ken Walker, Joe Mixon, James Conner. Most of the time, Ken Walker will be off the board. Let's just go ahead and assume he is. So the pick is most likely going to be James Conner. At the wide receiver position, there are some good options, and they'll be there for us in the 5th. So let's take James Conner. Coming back to us here in the 502, DJ Moore goes off the board. Ken Walker eventually goes off the board. We're looking at Rashee Rice. We're looking at Zay Flowers. I like Rashee Rice in this pick, okay? But we need a guy who's going to play football. If this was our 3rd, 4th wide receiver in the 5th round, great. We only have 1 right now. So with this pick, guys, I am going to go ahead. I'm thinking Ted McMillan or George Pickens. Interesting, in the 5th. Who's here for tight end? For tight end, we have Laporta. Okay. So we're going to go wide receiver. I'm skipping Rice. I'm skipping Flowers, skipping Smith. I typically skip those latter 2 guys. Worthy, I really like. Jamison Williams, Ted McMillan, Pickens. Now, those are 4 names. Even Travis Hunter, 5 names that I'm really into. Let's go ahead and take Xavier Worthy here. So Xavier Worthy is our wide receiver 2. I think he's going to take over most of the KC wide receiver duties while Rashee Rice is suspended. Already crushing it at camp. Finished really strong, did Xavier Worthy last year. He might have a concussion right now, but that's better than a super major injury with no timeline, for example. Okay, 6'11". So we discussed that through 7 rounds, we want a tight end, okay? And we want a QB. So Kelsey's on the board again. We're going to take Kelsey. And at QB, I wish Mahomes was there. We could have had a double stack. But instead, we were looking at Baker, Bo Nix, Kyler Murray. Are there any stacks? No stacks on our team. Let's go ahead and draft Bo Nix. He is the best quarterback on the board for me. Now, with this build, we have 3 running backs and only 2 wide receivers. Thank goodness one of them is Jamar Chase. But we're going to close this draft out with 3 straight wide receiver picks through 10 rounds here. All right? I don't even need to look at the other positions. Coming back to us here in the 8th round, Diggs, Kupp, Pearsall all on the board. We'll take Kupp in the 8-11, and we'll take Pearsall at the 9-02. And I'll tell you what, this last pick in the 10th is also going to be a wide receiver. Now, I say last pick, I understand fully that everyone's draft is probably at least 16 rounds. For the purpose of this video, I trust you guys to fill out the last picks here, the last 6 picks. So we're only going to take it to 10. Come on, give me Egbuka. Come on. Yes, okay. And we get Egbuka with the final pick there in the 10th round, which is a little unrealistic, but if Sleeper updated their ADP, that'd be a big deal. So the team finished nice. A little different than the first one, which I'm happy it panned out this way. Bo Nix at QB, top 6 QB for me this year. Jonathan Taylor and Chase Brown, 2 top 12 running backs. Then you have Jamar Chase, Xavier Worthy at wide receiver, Travis Kelce. So could have done some planning ahead, realized Kelce would have been our tight end, and maybe taken Teteroa McMillan at the wide receiver 2 spot. But nonetheless, pretty happy with it. James Conner in the flex, Cooper Kupp, Ricky Pearsall, Egbuka on the bench, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video today. That is how you draft a league-winning fantasy football team around Jamar Chase. Peace.